James, it's over. Did you know that would happen yesterday? How do you feel about everything that's unfolded?
Well, what happened yesterday with him getting escorted out of Falkirk, that's on the board. That's on them. This Kavanagh and Parag character, they don't understand your club. They never will understand your club, and I don't care. We're just another leg of their multinational investments, and they don't really give a toss. And let me tell you something. See, when all the rumours were going about that it was going to be this guy or that guy and Russell Martin, we, the supporters and supporters associations, a lot of people connected with Rangers said, please don't employ Russell Martin. We don't want him in. We just had a gut feeling. We didn't want him in. We didn't want him involved in the club. And they were still in the middle of doing their due diligence. And if you're doing your due diligence for a multi-million-pound company, you're going to listen to rumours. You're going to keep your ear to the ground. You're going to do your research, and you're going to ask, all these people are coming out saying they don't want this guy. Why? And they interviewed him 7 times. 7 times interviewed him for this job. And they knew we didn't want him in the job. Russell Martin's even saying he wasn't wanted. He knew before he came in he wasn't wanted in the job. Why would he take a job that he knows he's not wanted?
Raging, isn't he? Fuming.
And then spit his dummy out when fans chase him at the ground. That's not on the board.
He hasn't spat his dummy out. He hasn't said a word. He had left with a police escort and hasn't said a word.
He's been talking every week, and he's been saying about you're saying this and you're saying that. And what does he expect? Listen, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter on Russell Martin. Russell Martin is taking the job and making the money. He's entitled.
But you're now arriving at the conclusion that Andrew Kavanagh doesn't care about your club. If it wasn't for Andrew Kavanagh, you wouldn't have a club.
They've not done their due diligence, Hugh. If they're still going to listen to what's going on and they still give the guy the job, they interviewed him 7 times.
That is doing your due diligence. That's why you had 7 interviews.
Not well, clearly.
Well, yeah, and they've owned up to the mistake. But you're now getting ahead of yourself.
Hold on a second, though. Fans like James are entitled to be angry. It's all right owning up to the mistake. That is a heck of a mistake. Yeah. That's a serious mistake.
Yeah, and they have a real job in their hands to atone to James and the other Rangers supporters. But it's a bit much to take it to the extent of saying they don't care about the club. Well, maybe they cared enough to take care of the financial aspects involved in taking over Rangers.
James, I mean, just that decision ultimately to put him in the first place, and that's what you keep coming back to.
Well, listen, I remember I was speaking to my pals, speaking to my sons, speaking to work colleagues, and we didn't want them near the club. And okay, I take that back that they don't care, that the new owners don't care, but they don't know enough to care. That's more like it. They don't know enough to care the way we want them to care. And see, there's clubs coming up, guys coming up for the championship. We need to win every game. We need to win every game. We don't want a manager who doesn't mind if we lose 2, draw 3. That's not the results we need in Scotland. And we didn't want that. We wanted an ambitious guy. Russell Martin did not approach us as an ambitious guy. That's why we had the gut feeling. And everybody I spoke to, we didn't want him. Nothing personal. We didn't want him. We didn't think he was a Rangers fit. We didn't think he was a Rangers manager. He wasn't. He never showed that he could dig deep and get results. That's not the type of guy that we thought. And it turns out we were right. But what I'm interested in, I think we're getting after the boil here. What I'm interested in is, that's all right, these 2 guys saying they got it wrong. They get multi-million pounds staying in California or San Francisco. What happens if they turn around and say, we got it wrong again? We're not a project club.
You mean?
We need to get this right. We've been out of the fold for so long. We're never going to get back in if we don't do that now.
Yeah, but those who are running the club could not take them any further. There was what Dave King called investor fatigue. Right.
So what did we do?
You have to trust in them to get it right because they took over your club.
Would you trust someone who just made a mistake of that size?
So after 17 games with Russell Martin, are you now advocating that they sell the club?
Who said that?
Oh, you said, how can you trust them?
Joe is a Rangers fan. There is so much swirling around your head, I'm sure. Joe, what springs to mind after the last 24 hours or so?
Oh, good evening, panel. First of all, absolute disgust. absolute disgust at the way the Rangers fans behaved yesterday. For that man to be perceived that he's under any threat of danger and having to get a police escort out of a stadium through a different exit into a different car, to be honest, I'm absolutely ashamed. Absolutely ashamed.
Oh, lovely.
And it's disgusting and appalling and any other words you can think of. As a Rangers fan, yes, I'm happy. Obviously, you don't want anybody losing their job, whether it's in football, any walk of life. Russell Martin, for me, wasn't the man to take us forward, but he deserved to be treated like a human being. Rangers fans, and I'm one of them, who have, I haven't behaved like an idiot, first of all, let me say that. The people who are behaving the way they're behaving and threatening them and all the rest of it, these people need to be tracked down and they need to be banned from Ibrox, and the authorities need to do something about this. I was listening to Talk Sport this afternoon, and Emmanuel Petit says that the rest of the world is watching, and he's actually spoke to ex-Rangers players, French ones, who said they could not believe what was going on in Scotland with the Rangers fans, as the Rangers fans are predominantly well known for having a good time, etc.
My God, that's the best yet.
This has brought massive shame onto your club, the way we've treated this man, and I'm absolutely disgusted. I hope he's down the road. There's a weight off the man's shoulders and he's sitting having a beer thinking, thank God I'm away for that nonsense. But the Rangers board, they have been massively complicit in this nonsense. Padraig Marath and Andrew Kavanagh, the day that they had the AGM and they invested the 20 million, they did a video on the Rangers YouTube channel, and Padraig Marath actually said, you won't hear much from us unless there's a problem. Well, there's been a problem for about the last 5 or 6 weeks, so where has he been?
What's the problem?
Well,
Massive problem.
Let's draw a line here between the nonsense, as you rightly describe it, Joe, and what Andrew Kavanagh has said today. They are responsible for making a bad appointment, and they've owned up to that. But they are not complicit in what took place at Time Up, when you have hooded gangs trying to stop the team bus from leaving the Falkirk Stadium and necessitating the head coach's departure via a back door with mounted policemen and other policemen guarding him, then that is antisocial behaviour. It has nothing to do with Andrew Kavanagh, but has everything to do with an antisocial group who are tolerated at Ibrox because they all stand in the same place. You know exactly who they are, but what took place yesterday was sinister, disturbing, and very wrong.
What Joe's trying to say though is why, like, you can try and change the minds of hundreds and hundreds of fans if you want, but you won't do that. Look, I need to be honest, right? I'm obviously trying to play devil's advocate to a point. Would I ever stand in front of the team bus and stop it leaving because I didn't like something my team did? No, absolutely not. Not in my life or the next.
I described it in one newspaper column as human debasement when it came to Russell Martin. The chanting at Ibrox was of a kind that I have never heard before. But what took place yesterday takes you on to another sinister level. This is about organised gangs.
What do you think, Joe, on that front?
I think if you're any up and coming manager down south or in Europe or elsewhere in the world, and you've seen how we as Rangers fans have behaved over the last period, to me you're thinking no chance. If you've got a young family, you're going to move your wife and kids to Glasgow, where if it all goes Pete Tong after 6 or 7 games, you're going to be subjected to what that man went through.
No, but what they'll do, Joe, Stephen Gerrard came here. No member of the Gerrard family came here. Philippe Clement, family back in Belgium. There'll be a queue for the Rangers job, an absolute queue. But they will exercise the right to take the job and leave the family where they are.
Ian, who's on. Ian, your reaction then to what's been a very interesting day or so for you Rangers fans?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm glad he's away. I couldn't wait to get he went away. I couldn't watch it. I didn't even want to go to the games like a lot of Rangers fans. They were terrible to watch. His excuses were pathetic. Everybody's got eyes in their head. They could see what he was saying wasn't happening. And I think this, what happened yesterday was ugly, and it shouldn't have happened that way. And I'm not condoning it in any sense. But Russell Martin and the board they've been complicit in this, the two of them, because they've been gaslighting the fans for so long.
Nice.
Oh, he's the best manager I've ever seen. I'd love to know how many managers he's seen, if he can come up with that statement. I think, personally, I don't know if he knows Russell Martin from old, but I think it was his friend or whatever, and he was getting the job no matter what. A bit like, it's a bit convenient that his son's in now as well. But this has been brought on by Russell Martin. His attitude, he's never come across, he's never took any blame for anything, nothing. It's always been somebody else's fault. He stood there, he shrugged his shoulders, he's bit his lip, he didn't look as if he cared, he never came across. I'm not saying he didn't care, but he never looked as if he cared. He kind of just shrugged his shoulders and like, oh well, it'll be all right, we get beat the day, but we get through the day, but it's not that bad. I don't understand why these people can't see. If they didn't understand before Russell Martin came in what it's like to manage Rangers and run Rangers as a board, they'll know now, and they need to get the next manager bang on. They need. I mean, I don't condone what Rangers fans done, but I can understand why they done it. When you don't listen to people and you treat them with contempt, this is what happens.
He has made a monumental blunder.
Get it right up there.
There can't be a second monumental blunder.
Thomas and Kilmarnock, what are your thoughts on it all, Thomas?
It definitely had to go. But the guy said earlier on when he came in, I wasn't one for him either, just because I looked at his past records and stuff like that. And I think his highest percentage was at 47% with Southampton. But that alone, but when he came in, I said, all right, we never know, let's see what the guy does. Prove us wrong, prove the fans wrong, no one. But as Hugh was saying earlier on as well, the way you think somebody would advise on how to speak. He just started off right away saying outside noises. You know, when the media were questioning him or the fans, they wouldn't say the fans, or it just. And the thing that got me after the 9-1 defeat with Bruges, he comes out the next day and I think he says, he said he spoke to the board. They said yes, and if anything, he says the board are backing even more. Now that either means the fans are stupid or it made the board look stupid. And then he was saying just even last week, Hugh, I think he said in a perverse way, I'm enjoying this.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. You know, and I'm going, what is this? What is the guy saying? I mean, we're drawing, we're getting beat, and it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And it was unprecedented, you know. I know the supporters, the young boys and all that yesterday. Thankfully, it was verbal stuff and stuff like that, and silly, but no.
Gus is the next Rangers fan to give us his take. Go on, Gus.
Right, good evening, panel. The obvious, you know what this is all about.
Go for it.
I've got 3 quick points. One about the club itself, and 2 about Russell Martin. You can answer them in any order you want. First point, Rangers Football Club are getting laughed at by Russell Martin at the moment. He's paying them millions and millions of pounds. He knew this from about 8 or 9 weeks ago. He's going to get a massive payout regardless of what he said. So everything he said was basically what everybody wanted to hear, right? Point 2. Most previous Rangers managers, successful, unsuccessful, could walk back into Ibrox. Without a problem, they'll get a shake of the hand, pat at the back. No chance of Russell Martin could walk into Ibrox at any time.
Where you go, you fucking bastard?
Why would he want to do that, though, Gus, to be fair, given what he's been subjected to?
Well, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, previous managers have had not as much as him, but, you know, a fair bit, and they could walk back in and get a welcome. No chance he's going to get a welcome.
That goes back to this dislike point, doesn't it? Because Gus is probably right.
No, it's not meant to be that way.
Philippe Clement would walk back in Ibrox and people would say, do you know what, thanks for your... That won't happen.
The word they kept coming up with in recent times was detestation. There is a detestation of Russell Martin. Whether he'd want to come back, I very much doubt it. Gus, I don't quite understand your first point. Russell Martin knew this and he's getting millions. What do you mean? Well,
basically, he didn't realise, obviously, at the beginning, because what he actually, in his own mind, thought was, I can do this job. The board believed me. Let's let us go. But I can assure you, over the last 4 or 5 weeks, he is nowhere to go, and he's saying what he wants to say to keep himself in that job because he knows he's going to get a massive payout.
God's sake, you've been drinking?
I actually don't hold that against Russell Martin. He didn't hire himself. He didn't give himself the contract. And, you know, this notion that you would none of us are walking away from a multi-million-pound contract, especially, and if you're getting shouted at in the stand and booed onto the pitch and all that sort of stuff, and goodness knows if you ever looked at social media or listened to this show, that's just, he's entitled to that.
I love you, bye.